Hello, everybody. Welcome to this beautiful equinox time. You know, why I love these auspicious types of portals, particularly the equinoxes, because it's all about balance. We're at that midpoint between seasons. And, you know, if you've come to this transmission, you're probably well aware of, you know, the little nuances in how energy works and how even though they seem like little nuances, they can really have a big effect on the total energetics of what's happening around us. And so this beautiful energy of balance is a perfect time to be able to harmonize with that on the inside, because we know that energy comes into resonance with itself. And so, you know, energy around us, we can often harness to create that same harmonic on the inside. And you know, a lot of the time subconsciously, it happens vice versa as well. Like the energy inside of us, particularly when it's unabated and we're not aware, will go on to reflect the world around us as well. But we're going to get more into that as we go along with the sharing. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open the circle, being an auspicious time. So if you are comfortable to do so, you can close down your eyes just to come into the moment. And if you take your awareness into your beautiful heart space and breathe in and out through your heart, I'm just going to welcome in all of the beautiful high frequency light field energies that are all around us all the time. The beautiful earth, the energy of the earth to help ground and stabilize us in our sometimes chaotic world. The energy of the fire to help us move through things that are keeping us stuck, to help us walk in a way that we truly desire. The beautiful waters, may the waters help us to cleanse and clear the past so we no longer have to carry those into our future. And the beautiful air to help us rise above, and be able to see the bigger picture. Beautiful Mother Earth for holding it all. Father Sky and the cosmos for being the overseer of our realities. And that sacred in between, which is us, the beautiful sacred in between that interconnect through our heart space, the access point to the center of the universe, the center of our universe, which is that same center of light that exists within all things. And as you take a few more big, deep breaths, welcoming your heart to join this space, and also welcoming in all of our ancestors, the custodians of the lands, wherever we reside on this beautiful Mother Earth, those that have held the earth in deep reverence to hold her sacredness, so that we too may be able to continue to hold that reverence as well. Just taking another breath into that. And so what we wanted to come forward and share more about today is how our world is changing. And you know, if you've come to this transmission, there is this awareness that you have, you know, deep within, that we are so much more than our physical. And you'd also be very aware of how much things are changing. You know, when we narrowly focus on things that are very present to us in our physical reality, we can sometimes feel like we're on Groundhog Day, going round and round and round with the same things. But when we expand our awareness into more of what's happening around us, what's happening collectively as well, there really is a lot of shifts happening everywhere. You know, even the way that we think and feel as a collective is changing really rapidly. You know, this level of information, like even 10 years ago, would have been seen as, you know, woo-woo and a bit discretionary by so many. But as this great awakening is underway, people are opening their minds, opening their hearts, and starting to be much more curious, you know, about everything that's happening. And, you know, this brings us to what we can continue to do, but not just do, how we can continue to be in the world to support the acceleration of what is coming into creation. And so the impetus of this sharing, when I sat with the guides, I was feeling into what we could share about and what would be most useful. And, you know, if you've been following my work for a while, I produced a ebook, which was a channeling a couple of years ago, and it really created a capstone of New Earth healing. And this is what is possible for us to stop the repeating patterns. You know, there is a lot more awareness about energy and energy medicine happening everywhere. There's lots of beautiful different ways that we can, you know, work with energy. Though if we're not getting to the core program, the core thing that's creating the disharmony continues to be recreated in our lives. And, you know, this isn't to make us suffer. You know, this is the best part of it, that these things, even though they don't feel like it at the time, are there for our evolution. They are calling us forward to create in a different way. You know, whether that's create outwardly or create inwardly, you know, the things that we tell ourselves, our attitudes and beliefs towards certain things. You know, whatever's happening is calling us forward to create change on some level for our benefit. And you can just take a moment to breathe into that and allow yourself to feel that. You know, once we can change that perception that things are happening for us, and I'm sure you've all heard that before, you know, and I'm sure you've all experienced an integration. That's where, you know, you hear something and you go, oh, that's really fascinating. And it stays kind of in the cognitive ethers about things are happening for us, not to us. And then, you know, as you continue to allow yourself to expand into the greater awareness, that becomes more real and embodied. And, you know, I'm sure you've probably all noticed times when all of a sudden the penny drops on something and you're like, oh my goodness, now I understand it more. And then it drops again and you're like, oh my goodness, I thought I understood it before, but now I really get it. And this is our process of conscious evolution. And, you know, this is the beauty of allowing ourselves to, you know, dig around in our shadows, but not dig around in our shadows in a way that causes trauma, because it doesn't need to. If we hold a higher perspective and hold a higher frequency while we're doing this level of work, we get to receive the gift of the light that it brings, rather than having to, you know, feel like we need to excavate trauma, so to speak, and re-traumatize ourselves. It's really not necessary to go back into a trauma when we can touch an awareness in light and witness it from a higher perspective, that this is where it shifts, because it no longer stays the way it was when it's been seen in light, when it's been seen in a new way. And this is how we actually break the cycles. It's by recognizing a conscious evolution And then what that does is it changes the frequency of it. And so it no longer continues to magnetize those same experiences, for us. I'm just breathing into that. And so when we consider dimensional realities, there's a lot of talk about moving from this 3D world into higher dimensions. There was a lot at first about, going from 3D to 5D, but what's becoming apparent now is that we've already surpassed the capacity to do that. As we transcend, we're going to be reharmonizing our multi-dimensionality, which is really exciting. But what happens as we transcend old patterns of information is it's a shift in perspective, a shift in perception about our current reality that allows us to operate in a higher reality, in a higher frequency that then changes what we're seeing. So if you just breathe into that for a moment. And so, this splitting of timelines that I'm sure you're hearing about as well, that, people who are still encoded and ingrained and stuck in the old world reality are going to continue to operate there. Because we're sovereign beings, it's a free will choice for us to see in a different way, to be in a different way. And so allowing ourselves a higher perspective to be able to give grace to those that are in suffering, to give grace to ourselves while we are allowing ourselves to move through the past, starts to allow us to see the greater reality. We start to see everything in a different way. And as we witness things in a different way, our internal world changes. And from there, the outside world around us changes too. And so this splitting of timelines doesn't mean there's going to be two separate Earths. I remember back in the 90s when they were all first, kind of conceptualizing, this great unification and, the splitting of Earths. That was, I remember reading and hearing about it. I was probably reading in those days. We didn't have so much audio visual stuff. But, reading about this, this splitting of timelines. But, at that point in time, it wasn't conceptualized that it would all happen within one existence. So we could be living next door to people that are living a 3D reality while we're beginning to operate more and more in a higher dimensional reality. And so it's coexisting, but coexisting and not necessarily coming together in that way, because frequencies magnetize each other. So you find, and you'd be witnessing it already, that people who are operating in the old world frequencies, stuck in the suffering and the lack and all of those types of creating problems, tend to magnetize each other. And so it exists in pockets, in friendship groups, even in communities when it is really dense. But then the same thing's happening here at a higher perspective. When we choose to stabilize a greater reality within our own existence, we become to magnetize more people who also hold that frequency. And this is literally what's happening now. Like, you might have had the experience of where, people who you associated with for a long time just fall away, without anything necessarily happening. People on different life paths create different frequencies in their reality. And sometimes you just drift apart from people because there's no longer an alignment there. It doesn't mean anything's wrong or anything became wrong in that relationship. It's just not necessarily a frequency alignment anymore. And I think the biggest part of our mastery as we're stabilizing, we continue to stabilize this higher dimensional reality, is being in acceptance of those who may never leave the matrix, leave the old world, those who may never do that. And that's okay. As hard as it is on the heart, particularly when it is loved ones, family and dear friends too. But, we can't, there's nothing we can do to awaken other people. We can share, we can be in our frequency, our higher frequency, which actually makes it easier. It happens. This is actually what is happening, is that as the earth holds a higher frequency, we are able to stabilize a higher frequency, and it makes it easier for people to untangle from the old world, which is actually what's happening. But the conscious decision to do inner work, to evolve, is something that is a sovereign choice. And so some people may be in resistance forever. And, holding them with love and compassion becomes that mastery, particularly when we can see their pain and, we can be acutely aware of, things that will help them. But unless they're willing participants, there's not really anything, that we can do about it, unfortunately, except hold them with love, hold them with the beautiful love and light. And so I did want to touch as well, there's 3 key codes in that ebook that I channeled. And I think this is really good information for you to support you in your journey as well. And so the very first key code, I'll attach a link to the ebook, so you can receive a copy of that ebook if you want to read more deeply. But there's 3 key codes. The first one is relaxing the nervous system. The very first thing we need to do to be able to integrate a higher reality is to relax. While our energy system is completely constricted, we can't shift. We can't shift because we're in that survival mode. We're in that control. We're in that fear. We're in that holding on to everything that we do know, even if we don't like it. And there's this sense of safety in staying the same, staying stuck when we are in a fear program. And a fear program perpetuates itself because of the way the nervous system works. I talk more about it in the book. But when we're in survival mode, we actually look for danger. And so it perpetuates our fear program, being in a fear program. And so doing things to help us relax, working with the nervous system, all of those sorts of things is the first step. And the second step is that self-reflection. Allowing the self to recognize what's not in alignment, to hold ourselves in highest light while we're navigating that is really important, because if we go into self-judgment, our energy field closes again and we have to go back to step 1. Okay, how can I make myself feel okay again to relax and feel like I'm safe and not in fear of my schedule or something like that that can topple things over a lot of the time as well. And so this allowing space for self-reflection, but holding the self in non-judgment. And so, attuning, being present to yourself and attuning to your own feelings to recognize when something doesn't feel right for you. Whether it's, something on the outside or something on the inside, allowing some space at some time to sit with it, to feel it in honor, because our emotions are not good or bad. The emotions are there to help bring change. They're part of this evolution. This evolutionary aspect of us is our emotions, which lets us know whether we're in or out of alignment. And then, making that conscious choice to see what we can do, to resolve that. And there's lots of different ways we can introspect, but it's about moving beyond the bypassing and the avoidance of our forefathers. Because last millennium, it was very much all about, if it's not nice, don't see it, say it, pretend it's not happening, don't even think about it, just let it go, right? All of those things that are negating the reason that it's there in the first place. So it's back to what we started talking about. It was the gift that these things actually are, particularly out there. You recognize it out the other side. I'm sure you've all had that experience as well. You move through stuff, and then when you get out the other side, you're like, oh, that was actually kind of good that happened, because it helped to reroute me. It helped to, allow me to walk a different path, something that is more in alignment with the next phase, of my journey in that way. And the third key is integration work, is homework. And so allowing yourself even 5 minutes a day, I'm always saying to clients, 5 minutes a day will change your life. And that's 5 minutes a day working on grounding, or working on that sense of self, working on more gratitude, working on, whatever it is, bringing in more light, but only 5 minutes a day. Because, when we come to recognize where the disharmony is, we can bring light to it, but then continue to bring the light for a few weeks to that same aspect. And what that does is it continues the recoding of your energy. And so it becomes to create new habits within your energy. Because a lot of these disharmonies become habitual as well, because a lot of the time we've held them for so long. And so the integration work is really important as well. Every day, plug into that higher frequency, to create that as your new habitual set point, rather than the fear, which we've all been born into. Like, it's nobody's fault. And that's what I love the best about working in this, this higher reality, is that it is nobody's fault. All of these things are patterns and programs and mimicked behavior from our forefathers, and, false beliefs we've accumulated from experiences that, and often when we're young, when we're children, and we don't understand it enough to not recognize what's happening in a different way. It's not uncommon for children to pick up all sorts of programs, like it's their fault when people are fighting, even though it's got nothing to do with them. These are things that I commonly see as well, in the client work that I do. And so when we find these things, meeting them with the grace to recognize it's nobody's fault is probably one of the other most powerful things. It's not our fault. It's not anybody else's fault as well. And what that does is it keeps the field open to be able to make it much easier to repattern our energy to become more harmonious, with the beautiful truth of who we are. Yes. All right. So I did want to share with you as well, if you are interested in learning more about what I've been sharing, there's a few opportunities. If you are a practitioner, or if you're interested in being a practitioner, I have a 6-month immersion, which is a program that also has private mentoring with me. There's only 8 in a group at a time to make sure that everybody is getting the best out of their time. We have a combination of module resources that for each section that you dive into first, and then we meet every 2 weeks for 4 hours, and we do a mixture of deepening into the theory, asking questions, and then practices as well. And so it's very practically based, which is, of course, it's really important when you're learning a new skill or remembering skills. And that's another beautiful weaving that that comes through with this work as well, is that uniqueness of yours that interweaves with this capacity to walk with your higher guides, and to be able to facilitate the depth of this work that I was just speaking about, really supporting people to get to those core patterns, bringing them to light, and helping those to be resolved through the conscious evolution, and supporting that shift in perspective in your clients as well. If you are not a practitioner and you're still interested in this work for yourself, I have made a kind of a mini version of that. It's a 8-month journey where you spend a month on a particular topic. There's lots of teachings and practices, so you can really play around with it, workbooks, so you can do that self-reflection. And then we also meet. You also have a couple of private sessions with me as well to help you really dive deeper to, to unlock any of those deeper programs that sometimes we can't see. And that's kind of what our subconscious is really good at. It's really good at hiding that deeper layer stuff, and the support that is possible through working with the higher realms is that the information comes forward through that intuitive guidance process. And then we use lots of mystical medicine magic to be able to help to repattern, and even more deeply untangle some of the things as well that can be threaded through different layers. Yes, I'll send information about that. I won't go too much into it, but if you do have any questions about it, please feel free to reach out. You can book a chat with me. I'm always happy to have a chat. I also do have a Unity Collective circle, which has weekly touch points. So if you really enjoy the wisdom teachings, we drop wisdom teachings every week, just short ones with little mystical practices as well to really help you embody the information that's being shared as well. Right, so what I really wanted to finish with, and I'm going to keep within the time frame, yay, is to take you through a beautiful process on this equinox to help to really walk yourself forward in a way that your soul truly desires. The resistance that's in our path, again, which is the gift for our evolution, these resistances are real and we all have them. And, it's not about getting to a point where there's no more resistance, because resistance means growth. Resistance means out the other side, you get a bit of uncomfortability, like the edges are stretching for your growth. So it's a bit uncomfortable. So there can be resistance. And that's signaling growth when we allow ourselves to walk through that. And that becomes the growth. So walking through resistance becomes a practice as well. And it gets easier and easier to meet the resistance, feel the uncomfortability, and walk forward, because you're going to be okay out the other side. And it's easier to recognize that the more you allow yourself to do it, to meet the resistance and walk through the resistance. And so without further ado, if you are comfortable and safe to do so, I'll get you to close down your eyes. And coming to your breath as you breathe in and as you breathe out, just allowing yourself to feel that. And if you can slow the breath down, helping you to arrive into this now moment. It's in the now moment that everything opens up. So as you breathe into that, maybe you can breathe a little more deeply. Maybe you can feel that breath expand out in all directions. Just being with that, being with the sensations. If you notice your mind taking over, which is pretty usual given the busy world we can live in, just bringing yourself back onto your breath. And as you breathe right to the very top of your in-breath, this time deeply and gently, and then pause. And as you breathe out, feel that softening. And so breathing into that beautiful spaciousness and expansiveness, and then pausing. And as you breathe out, softening your energy all the way down into the earth beneath you. And as you take your awareness down into the earth, just taking a moment to notice the earth and how that's feeling for you in this moment. Noticing the qualities that are there for you, knowing there's no wrong answers. Whatever's there for you is what's there at this moment. How is that earth feeling for you today? Maybe you can connect in with her energy of stillness. Maybe her energy of support. And as you breathe into that, allowing that energy to start to move up into your energy. And can you soften a little more, knowing that the earth has you and she's holding you and that you're safe? She's always there no matter what, with that support to nourish and nurture. But also to bring you to that stillness within. And that stillness within is the space where the greater reality exists, a gateway through the stillness. And so as you breathe into that, I'm going to bring in a beautiful pink mist. So just imagining a beautiful pink mist, this heather pink mist, just starting to gather in your energy field. Just like the mists of Avalon, gently infusing the energy all around you. This is a mist of serenity. Just allowing yourself to feel that infusing, this frequency of serenity. Allowing that to infuse through all of your layers. And as you start to breathe that mist now too, makes its way through your torso, into your heart. Seeing if you can really allow yourself to be with that frequency of serenity. Feeling it weaving your heart. That peacefulness that comes with that. And as you continue to breathe this beautiful pink mist, feeling it start to fill all the way through you, meeting all parts of you, allowing that nervous system to know that it's safe to relax. You don't need to be holding when you are supported. And this space of peace is your true state. All the rest is created through patterns of behavior, beliefs that we're not safe, beliefs that there's always problems, takes us away from our true state. And so as you breathe that beautiful serenity, I'd like for you to imagine now there was a pathway in front of you. And as you start to walk along this path, it's noticing what it looks like for you, knowing it's perfect as it is. And as you walk along that path, just feeling the path under your feet, you're noticing what's around you, what sort of scenery. Might be in the beautiful nature or by the beach. You might be in the cosmos, allowing it to be however it is. And as you continue to walk along this path, you see ahead of you a gateway. It's vivid, but at the same time translucent, because it is dimensional. It exists on other levels, on other layers. And as you approach it, you notice there's a few steps up. And so you step up, up, and up, and arrive looking through this gateway. And as you look through the gateway, it's difficult to make out what's there, but it's very bright. And as you turn around and look at the path you've walked, you notice that this is the path of your life. What has been, and noticing that it is behind you. And as you stand in the gateway, you're free to stand there as long as you like. But if you would like to step through, go ahead and step through now. Step through the gateway and onto your higher timeline. And as you do, just noticing what's around. And you notice somebody coming in the opposite direction. You can feel their energy. They're radiating so much love. They're almost luminous because it's glowing from within. And as they approach you, your eyes meet and you notice that this is you. This is your higher self come to greet you. And as you take each other by the hands, just feeling into your energy as your higher self version, this beautiful aqua ray energy starts to fill from your heart space. This beautiful aqua light is starting to swirl that energy around your heart. As you breathe into that, this is the ray of self-forgiveness. And as you gaze at your higher self, I'm going to give you a few moments now to share with yourself this. I'd like you to say, the reason I hold unforgiveness is, and just finishing that sentence. And I'm going to give you a couple of minutes just breathing that aqua ray and allowing yourself to share with your higher self why you hold unforgiveness. Bringing forward that beautiful aqua ray is helping to transform it, helping you to recognize its old stories, stuff from the other side of the gateway. You don't need to carry it anymore. You're doing really well. And your higher self says to you, I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And you can say the same thing back to you. I am sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you. And in that moment, you embrace and welcoming that part of you home, knowing that you are already that. And you are fully worthy of holding this version of you in the now. And as you breathe into that, allowing yourself to receive that. Allowing yourself to feel that. Be aware of that, your light within. The light within that is you. That's already you. You are already everything that you seek. As you allow it to be so, through the resistances, through the old stories. And as that integration comes to completion, you look ahead and things start to look a little more clear. And as you start to walk, the path continues to unfold in front of you as you allow it, as you walk. And as you take a few more big, deep breaths here, still being aware of that beautiful pink heather mist that's going to be here for you to work with in the coming days and weeks, a mist of serenity. And also that aqua ray of self-forgiveness, feeling that swirling through your heart space, through all of your torso. And as you walk forward in the coming days and weeks and on your path, noticing when any old habits about being in self-judgment, being critical of the self, recognizing how that's not useful. Coming back to this aqua ray and remembering your light. Remembering that you are this light and all the rest is just old stories. And breathing into that. And as you continue to walk along this beautifully illuminated path, noticing how that feels for you, walking with your lightness. And now as you continue to walk all the way back into your seat, you start to become aware of yourself back in your seat. Noticing your beautiful light with you, that light within, the beautiful aqua ray swirling through your middle, surrounded by the pink heather mist. And so you are welcome to stay here as long as you like. Otherwise, whenever you're ready, and only when you're ready, taking your time. And as you bring yourself back into the moment, bringing all of those energies back with you. Take care, everyone. Happy Equinox.